first and foremost, we get into the huddle before the game starts, and I look at my starters and the team. I'm like, look around you. It is Monday night at 9:15 on Christmas break, two days before the New Year in Auburn, Alabama, and this place is full. So so thankful. This team, 8-4 coming into this game after a tough result at Purdue. I feel like the majority of our fans are educated and rational for the most part. I know it may not look like that sometimes, but they recognize the schedule that we've played, and they recognize that they needed to come out and support this team, and they did. And I'm so thankful for that. And our players were too. Like, they recognized it. Like, I told them to look around. They're like, hell yeah, this is unbelievable. Like, nowhere else in the country, in my opinion, is going to have that type of turnout this late. So just so thankful for our fans to show up like that, in support of these guys. And ultimately, it led to a really impressive first half for us. And I thought that it really inspired our guys to go out there and, lay everything on the line. I told our guys, our fans deserve your best performance tonight. They just do. And, I thought in the first half we gave them that. So, first half we just had great activity defensively. That was the best we've played defensively all year. That's a top 75 offense in college basketball as far as efficiency goes. Another team that's picked to win their league. So they have weapons to really fill it up. And, a team that in their wins averages 14 threes per game. And, we hold them to 2, and the 2 that were made was Isaiah Henry's 3rd made 3 of the year, and I think it was Avante Parker's 4th made 3 of the year. So to not have Mann or Ashby or Berman or Jabriel make a 3 was really important. Number 22 being out for them was a pretty big miss for him offensively because he does so many good things for him. So took advantage of that. I thought our activity with our hands early was really good. We did a great job of deflecting the ball. We had, how many steals? We had 13 steals, I think 10 in the first half. So I thought our guys really flew around and did a great job of bothering what they did and just had them really, discombobulated. So guys did a great job defensively, offensively. We shared the ball in the first half. 22 assists for the game is obviously our goal was 20 to 25. So obviously great that we were able to get to that. So I thought the first half just looked like Auburn basketball again, which was encouraging. So, second half, I thought their ball pressure bothered us, and, that's why the game was a little more even. So we have to do a better job of handling ball pressure, because Georgia's going to, press us and really get after us on Saturday. So we got to do a better job of playing under control. And I thought after the first, 5 minutes, we did a better job of that as the game went on. So, Tahad having 9 assists, our 2 leading scorers having 14 assists is always going to help your offense. So, Key and Tahad really sharing the ball, getting other guys involved, and obviously guys making open shots, makes a difference. So, wish we would have played better in the second half. Part of it's the score, but part of it was their ball pressure really bothering us. I told Coach that that's how they got to guard the rest of the year, because that was the most active they've been defensively in the games that I've watched. So, it's a good offensive team, and I thought we did a pretty good job for. Obviously did a great job in the first half, just okay in the second half. But overall, pleased with the effort, with the performance. Had some step up. Great to see Elijah make open shots. 4 from 3. I think that's his career high. 27 points, 20 of the 27 in the second half. So he really gave us a spark offensively in the second half, which we needed. And then I thought our bench finished the game pretty well. So overall, pleased, but we got to have a lot of step up on Saturday coming up. So.
3 of the last 5 games, KO's had 20 or more. I mean, we've talked about it, but when he's getting going like that on offense, just how much more dangerous do you think this team is?
Yeah, I mean, he adds. He's a third. He could be that third scorer for us. He's playing with a lot of confidence right now, and if he can see it, he can make it, which is great. I don't know how many threes he made against NC State, but I think he's made 10 to 12 threes in the last 2 games in Neville. So. Good to see him playing with a lot of confidence. I think a lot of it got started with his defense, though. He had 4 steals in this game. Loved his activity on the ball. His ball pressure on Watford, I thought, really bothered him. Watford averages, I think, 6 assists a game. He had 2 tonight. So He got it going with his defense, and was playing with a lot of confidence offensively. So when he scores it like that, he shoots it like that, we're gonna have a chance to win games. So we're gonna need him to do that again on Saturday. But obviously, love to keep that going. So yeah, it's been good to kind of see him playing at that level because we've known that he's capable. But I'm more pleased with his defense than I am anything.
Coach, first couple opponents in conference play are teams that shoot a lot of threes. You held Queens to just 2 made threes tonight. What makes the difference on the perimeter?
I think it was just multiple efforts. I think we did a good job, when we were in rotation of really just closing out and running people off the line. So finishing possessions, multiple efforts, limiting them to one shot. I think they had maybe 1 or 2 offensive rebounds in the first half. So did a good job of just limiting them to one shot, which is important against good three-point shooting teams because the best time to shoot a three is after an offensive rebound. So did a good job with that. But I just thought it was just multiple efforts and just keeping bodies on bodies. Our transition defense in the first half was pretty good. I thought we did a good job of just locating shooters and just, getting matched up, which I think kind of slowed them down. For the most part, we stayed in the stance, communicated our switches. We kind of made them beat us from 2. So overall, really good effort on the on their 3-pointers because obviously it's a really important piece of what they do.
Okay. Stephen, just Elijah's second half, really, just what did you see from him in particular that really stuck out as he kind of went on that tear?
Yeah, just play with confidence. 4-4 from 3 and just played under control. Had great tempo. I thought on penetration he did a good job of relocating and finding the open space. And our guys, to their credit, found him. That's the important thing. Is he relocated, he moved, but guys gave him the ball. And he's a big target out there. So he just man, if he saw it, it could go in. It's important. We're going to need that type of step up off the bench, and for him to come in and do that, obviously was huge. Still going to lean on him to just continue to be better defensively because he can be one of the best defenders in college basketball when he applies himself. But you see how capable he is offensively just from what he did tonight. So good to see him play with confidence. Going to need to continue that as we start to play the best teams on our schedule again. So, but happy for him. Proud of him. He stays consistent, man. Even when he's not shooting it well, he's still in there shooting. He's still in there watching film every day with Marquise. He's just very consistent in his work, and it's starting to pay off. So happy for him.
You mentioned the activity on defense, 13 steals. Was that just a product of you guys playing more aggressive, or was that more designed that way from you guys?
Yeah, I just think I think yesterday we had our best just half court defensive session of the year, and I just think our guys were just more connected, and we communicated, and we really locked into the details of the scouting report, and we told our guys to just play with active hands and really just try and disrupt what they do, and I thought they really bought into that, and that was probably the most active we've been with our hands all year, really since probably maybe the Oregon game. So it's something that we can be good at because we have good length and we have good quickness and speed. So guys did a really good job there. I thought KO specifically in the first half, Murph in the first half were both really, really good and really got our defense going and, allowed us to obviously build a substantial lead. I thought our activity was great. We did a good job of mixing up our ball screen coverages. And, guys just made multiple efforts. We talked about, wanting to be able to finish plays. Did a better job of this game of finishing plays in the first half.
2 more here.
Steven, you talked about Tahad need to be more of a distributor. Career high in assists for him, and he got it going really quickly, really early. Did you kind of see just maybe a more concerted effort from that, or was it just kind of,
You could just tell he was looking for people in this game. He was looking for his teammates. And, I think, we told him, your assist turnover ratio is 106 in the SEC. And I think he, took that a little personally and was like, shit, I need to, pick this up. You could just tell, he was attacking the paint while looking at the rim. He was trying to see where his teammates were all night, which I thought was really, really good. And he was very intentional in that area. And, I didn't realize he was 1 for 8 because I liked a lot of the looks and a lot of the shots that he took. But you could just tell, throughout the game that he was trying to find his teammates. And, he got Elijah a couple. He got KO a couple. Had some really good looks to Key. So I just thought, he was just way more intentional in his facilitating, and it led to us scoring 106. So I'm proud of him for taking coaching. But on the road, we're going to need him to be able to do both because he's got to be able to make shots, but then he's also got to get his teammates involved. So it was good to see him because I know we all know he's capable of doing it, and it was just good to kind of see him be intentional and just focus on it a little bit more.
Last one right here.
On Elijah again, just as he's been coming off the bench recently, is there anything different you notice in him when he's coming off the bench versus when he started this season?
I think part of it when we talked, there was unselfish reasons, and then there were some, and this isn't a negative, there were some selfish reasons too because when you're out there with Keyshawn Hall and Tahad and Murph and KO, it's hard to get the ball in your hands. So one of the things that he talked about was, let's get Sebastian in there because Sebastian does a really good job of, one, facilitating and two, making others better. And then let me come in off the bench and kind of be a spark. And then we were able to kind of run the offense a little more through him when those guys aren't in the game. So it was, it was intentional because I think it just allows him to play more minutes when there aren't as many ball dominant people on the floor. So incredibly mature by him to recognize that. And obviously, I think it's been good for him. I think it's been 3 games since we've done this, and I think in the Chattanooga game played pretty well. But got a really tough opponent on Saturday. So I know he's sitting back there in the corner, and I hope he's listening right now because we're gonna need it on Saturday too. So, but he's making strides, making progress, and happy that he was able to see some positive results tonight.